The entertainment world loves to put its brightest stars under the harshest light, exposing their every move to cameras, headlines, and gossip-hungry fans. Yet, for Jerry Yen and Tong Liya, two names that echo like legends across Asia, the real story was never about what the world saw under the stage lights, but what unfolded in the quiet corners where cameras dared not intrude. The truth of their connection was not painted across glossy magazine covers or red carpet flashes. No, it was whispered, hidden, and sealed behind closed doors, in moments so fragile that even the walls seemed to hold their breath. Jerry Yen, the man who once defined an era with his iconic role and unforgettable charm, has lived most of his life in a cage made of fame. He is adored, admired, but also scrutinized by millions, his every gesture magnified into speculation. Tong Liya, equally luminous, has walked her own path, her elegance radiating strength, her smile masking storms the world could never guess. They were two lives shaped by relentless expectation, two souls wrapped in masks of composure. But when their paths crossed, something shifted, something broke through the silence they had carried for years. It began quietly, almost too quietly. A meeting not staged by producers or orchestrated by agents, but an encounter that seemed to happen by accident, or perhaps destiny. In the dim hallway of a rehearsal venue, Jerry and Tong Liya found themselves face to face. It should have been nothing, a polite nod, a fleeting moment. Yet it was not. Their eyes lingered, not with casual acknowledgement, but with recognition, as though two hearts were startled into remembering something they had buried long ago. Witnesses described Jerry's gaze as heavier than usual, a pause that stretched into eternity, while Tong Liya's lips curved into a smile so delicate it trembled, betraying emotions she had carefully hidden. It was one moment, 1 second. But sometimes, a single heartbeat can awaken 1,000 untold stories. The whispers began almost immediately. In the world of stars, nothing remains unnoticed. Staff members claimed they saw Jerry and Tong Liya exchanging words in late-night rehearsals, lingering long after everyone else had gone home. They spoke softly, sometimes laughing, sometimes falling into silences that were far louder than words. Some swore they saw Jerry looking at her as though she were the only person in the room, his usually guarded demeanor melting into something vulnerable. Tong Liya, always reserved, seemed lighter, almost free when she was near him. People began to wonder, was this just friendship, or something neither dared to name? Then came the night that changed everything. After an awards rehearsal, when the chaos had settled and the corridors emptied, Tong Liya stayed behind, her footsteps echoing softly against the marble floor. Jerry was there too, claiming some unfinished work, though those who knew him well sensed there was another reason. The two of them entered a quiet, dimly lit room. The door closed behind them with a finality that made the air feel charged. No cameras, no fans, no managers. Just Jerry Yen and Tong Liya, standing on the edge of something that could shatter or save them. What happened inside that room remains a mystery. But those nearby spoke of voices, hushed yet intense, rising and falling with urgency. Not anger, not argument, but the raw weight of truths struggling to be spoken. Some believed Jerry was the one who broke first, confessing feelings he had long buried beneath his public mask, words of love and longing finally breaking free. Others say it was Tong Liya who spoke, her poised exterior giving way to vulnerability, her heart laid bare with trembling courage. Whichever it was, when the door opened again, their faces told a story no script could ever capture. Jerry's eyes were rimmed red, his expression softer than anyone had ever seen, while Tong Liya's smile, fragile yet luminous, seemed like the calm after a storm. They left separately, but those who witnessed it knew. Something had changed behind that door, something that could never be undone. In the days that followed, whispers turned into rumors, rumors into theories. Insiders claimed Jerry and Tong Liya had made a pact that night. A vow, spoken in the quiet, to protect what they had discovered. In a world where every glance could spark a scandal, where every word was dissected into headlines, They chose silence as their shield. They promised to keep their secret hidden, to guard it fiercely, even if it meant the world could never truly know the depth of their bond. It was not cowardice. It was survival. But love, even the most carefully hidden, has a way of spilling through the cracks. Friends noticed changes in them. Jerry began speaking cryptically in interviews, talking about having a reason to keep moving forward, a phrase he never explained but repeated more than once. Tong Liya glowed in ways fans couldn't quite define, her laughter warmer, her eyes brighter, as though carrying a secret that made her heart both lighter and heavier at the same time. The silence they kept only deepened the mystery. Fans, ever observant, began to connect the dots. They dissected backstage footage, slowing down clips to catch the way Jerry's hand brushed against Tong Liya's, how her gaze lingered on him longer than expected, how their laughter seemed too private for the stage. Online forums exploded with speculation. Theories piled upon theories, and the phrase, "behind closed doors," began trending. Was this the love story they had all been waiting for, unfolding not in dramas but in real life? Or was it simply the kind of fleeting spark that disappears as quickly as it appears? No one could say for sure, but the fascination only grew. The tragedy of their story lies not in what was seen, but in what remained unsaid. Jerry Yen is not a man who loves lightly. His intensity has always been his strength and his weakness. Tong Liya, graceful and resilient, is not a woman who surrenders easily. Together, they created a chemistry that could light the darkest room. But they also carried the weight of their lives, expectations from fans, unyielding schedules, and the suffocating gaze of the public. They could not simply love freely. They could only love in fragments, in shadows, behind closed doors where the world could not touch them. And yet, even in the harshest light, their truth bled through. A handshake that lingered too long. A shared glance across a crowded stage. A private smile that no camera could fully capture. These small cracks in their silence became fuel for the fire of speculation, leaving fans convinced that what happened that night was not a fleeting fantasy, but the start of something real. So, what really happened between Jerry Yen and Tong Liya? The truth is heartbreakingly simple. They allowed themselves to be real. For one night, one whispered conversation, one vow hidden behind a closed door. They dropped their masks and let their hearts speak. It was not about fame. It was not about image. It was not about the endless scrutiny of the public. It was about two people who dared to feel, even when the world would never allow it. And perhaps that is why their story continues to captivate. Because it is not just a story of love. It is a story of courage, of restraint, of passion that cannot be tamed. Time has passed, but the echoes of that closed door remain. Fans still speculate, still analyze every interaction, still wonder what truly lies between them. Perhaps Jerry and Tong Liya will never reveal the exact words spoken that night, never confess the emotions that burned so fiercely. But maybe that is the beauty of it. Not every love story needs to be paraded under the glare of spotlights. Some are meant to be sacred, preserved in whispers, carried only in the hearts of those who lived them. The legacy of that night is not just in rumors or theories. It is in the way people continue to believe, to dream, to hope. Because behind every closed door lies a story, and sometimes the ones the world cannot fully see are the most powerful of all. Jerry Yen and Tong Liya may never tell their truth outright, but the silence they leave behind speaks volumes. And for fans who witnessed even the smallest glimpse of their connection, it is enough to keep the mystery alive. In the end, Behind Closed Doors is not just a tale of two stars. It is a reminder that beneath the glitter of fame, behind the carefully crafted images, there are real hearts beating, longing, and daring to love. It is a story of what happens when two souls collide in a world determined to keep them apart, a story that belongs to them and them alone. And though the world may never hear the exact words whispered that night, the mystery remains unforgettable, eternal, and perhaps even more powerful than the truth itself. Because sometimes, the most beautiful stories are the ones that can only exist in silence. Sometimes, the greatest loves are those hidden away from the noise, sealed in a moment, behind closed doors. The story of Jerry Yen and Tong Liya did not end the night that door closed. In fact, that night was only the beginning of a new chapter, one that continues to haunt the corridors of entertainment and the hearts of millions of fans. Behind closed doors, they made a vow that would never be forgotten. But what happened after? How did they carry the weight of a love so fragile yet so powerful, hidden in the shadows where no one else could see? In the weeks that followed, whispers refused to die. Every glance, every smile, every fleeting brush of hands became fuel for endless speculation. Fans began to notice how Jerry's presence seemed to soften whenever Tong Liya was near, as though a storm inside him had found its calm. Tong Liya, too, glowed differently, carrying herself with the quiet strength of someone holding a secret that warmed her from within. It was subtle, almost invisible to the untrained eye, but to those who believed in them, it was unmistakable. Rumors began to weave themselves into stories, some wild, some tender, but all fueled by the belief that what happened behind that closed door was real. Insiders whispered about secret meetings at quiet cafes, about late-night phone calls that lasted until dawn, about two stars who were willing to risk everything just to share a few moments of truth in a world that demanded masks. None of these whispers were ever confirmed, but perhaps that is what made them even more powerful. Mystery, after all, is the fuel of legends. But legends come with a cost. For Jerry and Tong Liya, the price was silence. They could not step into the open. They could not claim what was theirs under the scrutiny of millions. And so, they lived in fragments, short conversations, secret smiles, fleeting touches that had to last a lifetime. It was not the kind of love the world celebrates with fireworks and confessions, but the kind of love that lingers like a song you cannot forget, echoing in the quiet spaces between heartbeats. Fans continued to dream, to hope, to write their own versions of the story. Online communities filled with theories and imagined dialogues of what Jerry might have whispered that night, or what Tong Liya's trembling smile truly meant. Some insisted they were still in touch, bound by a promise no distance could break. Others believed fate had pulled them apart, but that their hearts would always remember. Whatever the truth, one thing remained clear. The legacy of that closed door had become bigger than Jerry Yen and Tong Liya themselves. It had become a story for the ages. And that is why it continues to matter. Because this is not just about two celebrities caught in a rumor. This is about the timeless, universal longing for a love that dares to exist even when the world says it cannot. It is about stolen moments, whispered promises, and vows made in shadows that outshine the brightest lights of fame. Jerry Yen and Tong Liya's story resonates because it could belong to anyone who has ever loved in silence, who has ever carried a secret in their heart, who has ever dared to hope against the odds. But here's the most fascinating part. The story isn't over. Behind closed doors, vows don't just fade. They echo. And perhaps, somewhere, Jerry and Tong Liya are still carrying that vow with them, still finding ways to keep it alive in the quietest corners of their lives. Maybe the world will never see it fully revealed. Or maybe, one day, the truth will slip into the light, and the story that began in silence will finally find its voice. Until then, all we can do is watch, wonder, and believe. And isn't that the beauty of it? The uncertainty, the mystery, the not knowing. It keeps the story alive. It keeps us turning the pages, waiting for the next chapter, even when the book itself refuses to end. And here's where you, dear listener, become part of the story. If you have felt the pull of this tale, if the mystery of Jerry Yen and Tong Liya's hidden vow has stirred something in you, then you are exactly where you need to be. Because here at Midnight in Seoul, we do more than tell stories. We uncover the secrets behind the headlines, we bring you the whispers behind the walls, and we breathe life into the hidden love stories that the world cannot stop talking about. By joining our community, you don't just read or listen, you become part of the conversation. You help keep these stories alive, you keep the fire burning, and you ensure that tales like Jerry Yen and Tong Liya's vow behind closed doors are never forgotten. So here is my vow to you. At midnight in Seoul, you will always find stories that captivate, fascinate, and make your heart race. Stories that go beyond the surface, that make you question, that make you feel. Stories that remind us all that behind every closed door, there is a secret waiting to be discovered. If this story has touched you, if you want more secrets unveiled, more mysteries explored, more unforgettable tales told with passion and care, then don't just leave now. Stay with us. Subscribe to Midnight in Seoul. Share this with others who crave stories as much as you do, and let's keep building a community of dreamers, believers, and storytellers together. Because the story of Jerry Yen and Tong Liya is not just theirs anymore. It belongs to all of us who believe in love that defies the world, in vows whispered in shadows, and in the power of what happens when doors close and hearts open. And here, at Midnight in Seoul, we promise to keep those stories alive for you, for us, for everyone who dares to believe. So don't just be a reader. Be a witness. Be part of the story. Hit subscribe, join our growing family, and let's continue this journey together. Because the night is full of secrets, and at Midnight in Seoul, we're just getting started.